Big game against the old rival. Can we beat the Bombers? Maybe.
Knocks it down to the front. He gets it to Goldie. Some poetry in slow motion from Goldie to Lucky. Don't you want to be him? He's got 9.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Further North. I'm releasing this episode a little bit earlier because I want to get this out with enough time for everyone to listen to it by the Thursday night game. It's thrown my schedule off a Thursday night game. I miss you, Sunday 4:40. Anyway, big game coming up. We've got an interview with Sammy G, who's a big Bombers fan and does a bit of YouTube stuff as well. That's really fun. We're going to get into that in a second. But the talking point that's falling out after the game is Paul Curtis has been suspended, basically, and North have, at this stage, on Monday afternoon, challenged it. Now, this video, I don't know if it's going to be out before or after the verdict comes in. I'm going to make a separate video on this and just suspensions around the league, probably through the middle of the week or maybe on the weekend, right? Because we don't have, content to put out for you then because the game's on Thursday night. So I'm not going to dive in right now. Wait for that video in a few days, but he's going to get suspended, okay? I don't think he should be suspended. He did nothing wrong. The guy, yes, I guess the momentum put him into his back a bit, but I mean, that just happens. And everyone knows this. I'm not saying anything that anyone else doesn't agree with, but the outcome can't be the reason you're suspended. The incident should be. With the old Collingwood tax on Houston swinging at someone's head is going to be less than a guy doing a football act and it just ended with the guy's head hitting the ground. It's the same with Jackson Archer. He nearly got his legs broken. If that was the other way and his leg snapped in half and the other guy's head didn't hit the ground, the suspension is different. You know what I mean? But the same incident occurs. So he absolutely should get off. I'm glad North have appealed, but I'm 99% sure he's going to be suspended, which is really frustrating because Essendon is a winnable game. And then Richmond after Brisbane, I believe it is. These are games we need a guy like that for. He's been our best player all year, one of the best players in the comp this year, an All-Australian potential this year so far. And it's really going to hurt a club like ours who's struggling and needs every bit of talent we can get. It's going to hurt us so much. And if we lose by a couple of goals, then you can absolutely put it back onto this decision. So I will definitely be planning for life without Paul Curtis in this one. It's wrong. It's everything that's wrong with the modern game. I wouldn't be surprised if, I know some media personnel are talking about it, but someone big in the industry needs to stand up for this and make change. The fans can't do it. Our voice isn't loud enough on this. Someone in the media needs to do it, but they're too scared to do it. I just don't like the whole reasoning around it. But hey, that's enough on this for now because I'm going to put a full video out of my thoughts. I'm going to tell you why I think it's happening, how it's going to affect clubs, some different incidents that you just can't compare. That'll come out later in the week as long as I've got the time to do that. But my plan is to do that video. So that might be out on the weekend. Anyway, let's get into the interview with Sammy G. A little bit of Essendon insight, which is really, really good. Then we're going to come back after that interview and I'm going to tell you what team I would be selecting at the table this week. So let's get into the interview and I'll meet you back here in a sec. Massive game coming up Thursday night and one of North's only ever primetime games, to be fair. And for that, we need a big guest. Sammy G is here. Sammy G FC. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining me. You're a massive Bombers fan and you're my insight on the Bombers right now.
Mate, absolutely thrilled to be here. Massive Bombers fan, you can't tell. Pretty tough time as a Bombers fan at the minute. So, yeah, I don't know how Thursday is going to go, but we'll see.
Yeah, unreal. And you do YouTube as well? How's all that going?
I haven't uploaded in a while, but I just post a few Bombers videos here and there. Go to every game. So I try to vlog my reaction of the game and just try to build a community of just Bombers fans and AFL fans in general. So yeah.
Unreal. Well, look, let's get into the Bombers a bit. How are you feeling about this season? Because I'm a barber, right, and I talk a lot of footy. There's a lot of Bombers fans that come in, and the Bombers fans, I think, are the most depressed fan base. We should be because we're awful, but the Bombers are just a painfully mediocre team sitting in that middle point for a long, long time. Tell me how you're feeling, because what were your expectations compared to how you're feeling now?
All right, so the start of the season, I was pretty optimistic. I was going into I reckon we can play finals this year because I don't know. I just can't tell you. So I was feeling optimistic, but as the season's gone on, like we've had tough losses. We've lost against Hawthorn, beat Port Adelaide at Marvel somehow. Pretty much just after last season, after that Gold Coast game, I just lost all optimism. And it's just, I don't know, it just hurt a lot.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, where do you reckon, what do you reckon the Bombers are doing wrong? If you could put it down to something like, because it's kind of a rebuild, it's kind of not, and you've got good players, but I don't know, maybe bar merit, you don't really have like A-grade players. Like what is it there? Because I don't think it's a bad list, but they just kind of seem to be a bit flat.
Mate, I honestly don't know, to be honest. Like, we have a few good players. We have Elijah Sardis, who can't even get in the ones. We've got injuries galore. We've got Draper out with his Achilles for the rest of the year. We've got Toddy Goldstein probably playing against you a lot. So, look, I actually don't know. Like, it's going to be tough. But literally, I just don't know how we're going to go against that North midfield. Parker did number on us last year when he played for Sydney. Luke Davies, Uniac as well. Probably Georgie Warlaw as well. I'm just trying to think, would you chuck in Sam Durham in there? You would play. I would categorise him as an A-graded player, but the way that he's performing at the minute, it's just like here and there so far. But yeah.
That's fair. Well, look, it's going to be interesting because the Bombers fans are flat, and they've been flat for a while. But us as North fans, we're just in the doldrums, mate. And look, we're slightly better showing against the Power on the weekend, but still, like, you know, the amount of honourable losses I guess we've got over the last few years is getting out of hand. You know, is this game a game you're nervous to play against North at all, or do you think you should be getting the job done fairly easily against what is a pretty poor team?
So I was talking to someone yesterday. I was like, I reckon we could go into this game fully confident. I reckon we could beat North by about 40, but how we played against Collingwood in the Anzac Day clash, we were in it for 2 quarters, and then they just absolutely ran away with it. But yeah, look, seriously, I think North beat us. I'll be honest with you.
Really?
I think North beat us. I do. But
is that just years of trauma though, or is that like what you actually think is going to be going down?
Are we going back to 2014, or are we going back to just?
I can pull out a Frank the Tank if you want, mate. I'm not
absolutely not. Absolutely not, mate.
That's my best memory as a football fan too, to be fair. So that was unbelievable. What's something you think that the Bombers are doing well this year? Like, we'll talk about some negatives in a second, but what is something, if Essendon are going to win the game, what do you think they do well, or what's their best attribute that you think can get them over the line?
I'd say the stoppage type of things, like the stoppages that we imply, like especially around the footy as well. We have that spare number, which didn't help. I wouldn't say that really helped us on the weekend against Collingwood, but yeah, there's a few things. The scoreboard entry, well, the forward entries aren't as bad as I thought they were going to be honest. But yeah, just I'd say the midfield would probably win us that game.
Yeah, a lot of games come down to the midfield battle. Who's your best 3 midfielders, or what's your sort of rotation that goes through there compared to ours?
So if we still had Jake Stringer, Chuck and Stringer in there, but I'd say Merritt, Perkins as well. Perkins is a mid forward, so chuck him in there. Chili, Calders if he plays, Sardis as well, Durham. And then, I don't know, should we chuck in Isaac Acko? Should we chuck in a little Isaac Acko in there?
Throw him in there. We say the same with Zerha every week. We should throw him in the midfield just for a little bit, just to see. It's an interesting midfield group. It's like, I kind of think it's pretty similar to ours, where I think a lot of those players, they're good players and they can be quite physical, and you've got ball winners, but we lack players that can dispose of the ball once we get a clearance, and I feel like it maybe is similar for the Bombers. And you know, I look at the Bombers and I'm like, they're really good, and I like what they do. But do you agree with me there? Do you think you're maybe not fantastic at, you know, your disposal percentage, even though you win a lot of clearances and your midfield are bullies and they're big guys?
Mate, we kill the midfield like every week, but yeah. there's a few like things that we like win every week, like especially the clearance type things. Like we get an inside 50 and we can't do anything there, and then we get absolute bullied in our back line. I think we're playing Zach Reed, who's played at least 10 games of footy in his like 3 years of AFL. Like Benny Mackay, your mate, who's been awful. I'm sorry to say it.
No, it doesn't hurt my feelings, mate. It makes me feel a bit better, actually.
Mate, like Ben Mackay has been bullied like since generally last year, to be honest with you.
He's had it so tough for the Bombers, man. Like I know he hasn't played up to scratch, but
no.
Geez, the fan hatred towards him and just
Mate,
the AFL hatred is wild.
It is getting bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you rate your backline then? Let's talk about the different ends of the field. So we've covered the midfield a little bit. Like, you know, obviously you got Goldstein going in there as well. Let's talk about that before we move. Actually, Goldstein and Jerry.
Yes.
Goldstein played okay on Anzac Day.
He actually wasn't that bad.
He's the only ruckman left on the list, though, isn't he?
Yeah. We've got Vigo Vicentini, who's never played an AFL game. We've got Kel Gearin, who's been drafted. He's just been playing VFL footy. But yeah, I think Goldie's literally the only ruckman in the ones that we have. So
and he can absolutely hold his own. I mean, he's one of my favourite players I've ever seen. He's one of the best players for North that I've ever seen. But you know, his last year or two at us, it was definitely the first half of the year for him was really, really solid, and then he would sort of like slowly fall away. So I think he can do a really good job for the next couple of months for you, but then back half of the year, you know, then you start to ask some questions. But look, let's look at the back line a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you think you sort of structure up there? What are some strengths or weaknesses in your back line, you think? Because we've got, you know, a forward line at the moment that I think is functioning well. I think it's very unlikely. We've got Paul Curtis. I don't know if you saw that tackle he laid.
3 weeks, isn't it?
Just insane. Like, that's just a tackle. But I have we've appealed it as a club, but there is no chance that the AFL are going to let him off just because of the concussion. No. But incredibly soft by the AFL. I hate where the game's going with that.
Mate,
but we'll rant about that for hours and hours. I reckon.
Mate, absolutely.
Yeah, I think without Paul Curtis, I really worry about our forward line because he's been our best forward. Larky is great.
He has.
But
he was good against Carlton as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the only 2 players in the league, I think, him and Jack Higgins, that have kicked 2 goals minimum every single week. So if he's out of there, I do worry about us converting on the scoreboard.
I'm trying
How
to
do you think our backline or your backline and our forward line match up?
Our backline? I'd say, I think it'd hold up pretty well. I think Ben Mackay playing against his former side will bring that experience as well as Jordan Ridley. He's been probably one of our key factors this season in that back line, as well as Zach Reed. But the problem with Zach Reed is he gets bullied around the footy. Like, you put in, say if you play Jack Darling on him, he's going to get absolutely bullied.
Okay.
But I think the smaller backman, I think Archie Roberts will have a good game. He was all right on Anzac Day, but the thing is, we couldn't find any targets. Like, getting out of that back line, we were going those cheap kicks, like 25 metres, and then just go down the line, which sort of helps or sort of doesn't, because you need to, like, find an option and, like, just see where you want to go inside 50, and just, like, you need to find, like, an option just to, like, get out of, like, that, like, just trouble, really.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So you reckon you've got, because one of the things, if Paul Curtis plays, I always think out like Zerha and Curtis can be really, really dangerous. So, you know, if you've got players that can cover those guys, I think that'll help you a lot down there. Is Ben Mackay sort of playing that intercepting role for you guys mainly, or is he more a one-on-one defender at this point?
I'm pretty sure he's a one-on-one defender. Like, he takes all the big-bodied forwards. I'm pretty sure he played on Dan McStay last week, if I remember. But I think he also moved to Darcy Cameron when he got moved up forward. So, yeah, I think I'd assume so. I would assume he's the one-on-one defender.
Yeah, okay. Our backline, a lot of change last week. We dropped Core and we dropped Logue, which was really, really interesting. And we played Callan Dawson, who's only played 13 games or something, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, Charlie Comben is very similar to a Ben Mackay, except, you know, I like where Charlie Comben's maybe potential is at. But, you know, they play a similar role as usually been that interceptor, but now they're sort of playing man on man a little bit more, and it's maybe not both of their strengths. Who do you like in your forward line key position wise at the moment? Because Langford, Caddy, and Peter Wright, are they the three keys at the moment for you?
Mate, yeah. We don't have any other key forward apart from Nate Caddy, to be honest with you. But the thing is with Nate, he can't win the 1-on-1s. Like he's more of like I'd say he's more of a player that like goes up in packs and just like can do like stuff there. But with Langers helping him, like getting, because I think they played about 15 games last year together. But yeah, I think to be fair, Peter Wright's been up there, kicked 6 against West Coast, and then kicked 2, 3 against Collingwood, if I remember. Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll hold up well in that forward line. I think we'll score. Okay. A few.
Yeah, fair. I mean, you know, I think that is a big part of the game, and I think that's something we did, even though the Power don't have the best maybe tall forwards at the moment. Yeah. I think we held up pretty well as like a defensive unit. The problem we had against Carlton the week before is as soon as the ball hit the ground, mate, it was a goal every single time that ball hit the ground, which was gross. I've never been so depressed in a stadium in my entire life. So it was awful. But then against the Power, we sort of really stemmed that, where we brought in Jackson Archer's back, and that's someone who
he's been good.
Yeah, I love him, mate. And that's someone who, you know, I trust can watch Kako or something like that so he doesn't get off the chain. Other than that, we don't really have a guy. McDonald can chop in and out, but he's a bit inconsistent. Archer is the guy I would hope can go to him and stem him a little bit. And with Hardiman coming in, I think we're a lot more better on the ground. How do you feel about your stocks besides Kako? Well, tell me how you think Kako's been playing. And besides Kako, who else maybe can trouble when the ball hits the ground?
Besides Kako? Oh, I'd say Sammy Durham when he goes inside 50 as well.
He plays mid and forward usually?
Yeah. So Durham normally starts on the footy, but he has that rotation role when Shield goes into the midfield as well. So I'd say him, Archie Perkins as well. He could be pretty dangerous. And I would say Benny Hobbs, but to be fair, he's been underperforming, if you can tell. But yeah, I'd say Archie Perkins as well.
Yeah, okay. Kako and Caddy then. How do you think Kako's been this year so far?
To be honest with you, he's been underperforming. Everyone thought he was going to be the best youngster in the league. I had him as my, what do you call it? I forgot.
Like Rookie of the Year or your Rising Star?
Yeah, my Rising Star.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna have an absolute breakout year, but I'm pretty sure the nerves got to him after that. I'd say that Hawthorn game where he kicked that first goal of the game, and to be fair, after last week that goal against Collingwood, that was his first goal since Adelaide round 2. So yeah, he's been.
Oh, was it since round 2? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's been underperforming. So yeah.
Yeah. It's time for those guys, right? Like, I think small forward is so hard to play. I mean, Nick Watson maybe is another example of like, he was hot for a little bit there, but then he'll have a massive chunk of form where he doesn't do much, or you know, as a smaller guy who maybe hasn't built out physically yet to be playing in the the grown man's league, I guess it's like it'd be very, very hard. Because I think you can just see when he's around the ball though that he's got it.
Yeah.
It'll come eventually, but it might be a couple of years to get some size and just
he's got a shoe though. He hits his targets pretty well.
Yeah, I like him, mate. That's a player North would die to have in our, running around in our forward pocket. But give me Caddy as well. Like Caddy and Kako in the preseason were talked about a lot. It was really only that one preseason game. Yeah. They both tore it apart. But how have you seen Caddy in his first, month and a half of football?
Are we going back to like last year, or are we going?
Well, give us just this year so far.
Oh, this year. Yeah, he's been all right. I think has he played every game for us? Pretty sure.
I think he has. I'd say so.
Pretty sure he has. To be fair, he hasn't hit the scoreboard as I was expecting, but if he pops up with a goal or two against you guys, I'd be happy with that. But he was good against Collingwood. He took a few good marks, turned it over a few times. I think that's what really costed us last week with the turnovers. But yeah, it's just he's been solid, but I reckon against a team like North Melbourne, where you actually need to turn it up, that's where like your big forwards actually have to come to play. Because if you don't score, you don't win games of footy. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a good opportunity. It'll be interesting to see what we do because you do have like Peter Wright, who, I mean, a few years ago tore the league apart somehow.
Mate,
and then,
he was unreal.
You know, no one knew what was going on. That was almost like a Linsanity sort of situation there, which was wild. But, you know, Langford is a really consistent, solid forward, and Caddy has a lot of talent. So, you know, for me, like you said with the midfield, I really think it might hinge on your forward line because our back line is our area of concern, even though I do think a lot of it is to do with the midfielders sort of not being good at defence at all and letting the ball go into that forward line, so, you know, our back line so quickly. But if your forwards, who I think against our backs could turn it on, if you can really turn up in your forward line, I think you can get us. But if we can sort of do what we did against the Power last week and maybe stem the flow to those tall forwards, maybe we can try and get on top. It's something weird, like as fans, and you would know this too, that you always think you can win every week, but then your brain's trying to tell you no, but your heart's telling you yes. And, you know, when you're an underperforming team, especially like North and Essendon to a degree, you're just like, God, I'm trying to make reasons why we can win, but I don't know if I really believe that we can.
To be fair, that was me last week against Collingwood. I was there. I was sitting a few rows from the front, and I was like, all right, we'll see how we go. We got done in the first quarter. It was like 35 points or something. And I was like, all right, we'll come back here. We kicked 4-1 in the second, and then we get absolutely torn apart. So, I was like, all right, we can try to win here. But, after that third quarter, I was like, sit back, relax, nothing to watch here.
I do think Collingwood are the best team in the league right now, though.
Mate,
so I wouldn't be beating yourself up. Yeah, don't beat yourself up too much. I mean, they're class, Collingwood. I watched the second half of that game, and I couldn't believe how just the link up and the chemistry with that midfield, just being able to tap the ball behind them and someone's there, or tap the ball forward without actually taking possession, and Dacos can like run onto it and just do whatever. I think I've never seen midfield chemistry like that for a long time.
I honestly don't understand who was tagging Nick Dacos, to be honest. He was getting
it looks like nobody,
mate.
To be honest.
Mate, he was getting it left, right, and centre. Merritt was doing his own thing. You chucked in, Sam Durham on him, let him got torn apart. You chucked Shealy on him, got torn apart. Mate, there was no one there. Seriously, there was no one on him.
This is something I'm looking at this week, actually, for our game, is like, we don't have anyone in that midfield that can tag. We tried Darcy Tucker tagging Rosier when Rosier was off halfback, and he got no touches and got subbed off. And there's no way Tucker plays this week. If he does, he's clearly got some dirt on Clarko that we need to be investigating. But, you know, does a Will Phillips come in to stop a Merritt? Because Merritt is so far and away your best midfielder at the moment. That, absolutely. You know, do we bring in a Will Phillips to tag Merritt and try and get him sort of out of the game? But I don't know. Will Phillips only done that tagging thing like 3 times last year, and this year hasn't done it at all. So we don't really have anyone else that can stem, anything to do with the opposition at the moment. If Merritt did get the tag and he's slowed a little bit, because I don't know if you can stop him, but you can try and slow him. Do you expect your other midfielders to be able to sort of step up, or who in your mind would step up and win you the game?
Oh, I think a veteran like Dylan Shield would. I reckon.
How's he been this year? Tell me how you think he's been.
Shealy, he's been all right. The first couple games against Hawthorn, Adelaide, and then I'm pretty sure who do we play round 3?
Great question. I don't know.
Wait, can I just check this real quick?
Yeah, you can check it. Because Dylan Shield, I don't know, how long's he been at the club now? Like 6, 7 years?
7 years? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Maybe 7 years. So
yeah, round 3 was the Port Adelaide game.
Yeah, okay. All right. And he was good in that?
He wasn't bad. I thought that was his legacy game, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'd say he's been in good form since. He was all right against West Coast a couple of weeks ago. But then the Melbourne game, he was all right as well in gather round. And yeah, he actually wasn't that bad. But last week, he wasn't great.
A big Dylan Shield bounce back game in this one. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think, those sort of players are the ones that need to sort of step out. I like Durham as a player, and, I think maybe, hopefully he can, if Merritt for some reason isn't tearing it apart, he can step up. But then it's those guys like Shield to then take Durham's place and that sort of stuff that can actually give you the body of a midfield and make sure you can actually win some possession. I'm trying to think for us who I think, I want to step up and who's going to be our match winner, like you said, for Shield. And I think It's a slightly more obvious answer. Well,
Georgie Wardlaw?
Yeah, there's so many. I don't know. I honestly think I back Wardlaw to compete every week, but the one for me, it's the obvious one, but it's LDU. I think he's had two, after signing the deal, he's had two. He wasn't bad against the power, but maybe lacked the game-breaking ability he has, but he did some good contested work, got the most clearances for us, but I need him bursting out of the middle and delivering it into the 50 and kicking a goal or two, because that puts him at a different level.
I'm just trying to think who would actually start on LDU in that centre bounce, but would you chuck in a player like Benny Hobbs on him, or would you chuck in like Zach Merritt?
Oh, I mean, well, you got to let Zach Merritt run free, I guess. So Hobbs maybe is the one to go to. But, then I look at Wardlaw, who I think's got as much, if not even more talent than LDU. And does he step up? Like you're sort of saying for Shield and those sort of guys, does Wardlaw step up? Simpkin's been flat. Like, does he step up? So, if there are tags, it'll be a very interesting sort of midfield battle. But I don't know, man. I'm super nervous. I don't go into any game like knowing we're going to win. I'm never confident. But how can I be? I've seen like 16 wins in 5 years. Which is wild.
Poor.
Yeah,
That's pretty poor, to be honest.
It's dry out here in North Melbourne land, mate. Count yourself lucky. At least you get 9 to 10 wins a year.
Yeah, and then we finish 11th every year, mate. So
yeah, we've been bottom 5 for 5 years. Bottom 2 for 5 years in a row. So I'd take 11. I would die to finish 11th, man.
Mate, 11th is actually looking good at that. The later back in the year, so.
Yeah, no, that is fair. All right, well, look, but before we finish it up, I got a couple more. Give us a score prediction and who's going to win this game. Score prediction.
I'm going to go. I think it'll be a low scoring game. I think it'll be like 85 to like 74, something like that. I think Bombers win. I'm going to have to say, I think the Bombers win. I think we start pretty slow like we started against Collingwood, but yeah, I think if North can get a few on the board early in that first quarter, I think you can put us under real pressure and, actually probably go on to win that game. But to be fair, your second halves haven't been great. So, I think if we score 5-6 goals unanswered before the three-quarter time, we'll win by 40 points. So
yeah, you sort of drag the margin out. And that's definitely, you can see with North that, the heads definitely do drop when they give up those little runs. And, the only one we've really given up, like the power game last week, it was honestly our first quarter we gave up, and it was the second half of the first quarter, like a 10, 15-minute patch of bad football. Other than that, we beat them for the rest of the game. The last 3 quarters of the game, we beat them. We scored more than them. So it's really, really frustrating. If we don't have those lapses, I think we're a chance. I don't know. I'm trying to reflect what I would be doing in my footy tipping comp for work. And at the moment, I'm not going to tip North, but I think there's a massive chance that we can win, but it relies on our midfield getting back to what we know we can do. Hopefully Paul Curtis is there. And if our backline can just hold up and we can put pressure on, I think we can win it. So look, I'll be 100% honest and say we can win. And if we're on, I believe we can, I don't know, win semi-comfortably, but it's if we're on. And that is such a, but it's if we're on. And we just do it so rarely. Like if we show up like we did in that D's game, or even the first 3 quarters of the Suns game, I think we can do it. I really, really think we can.
Absolutely.
Our good patches of form, I think, have been really, really good, but they're so rare. And they need to do it more consistently until I really start backing them every single week. Everyone knows on the pod who listens every week, I'm an honest North fan. I can't just blindly back them every week without seeing some improvement. So, I'll say the Bombers probably win it, but we can absolutely do it. And if we turn up anything like that D's game, I think we can win by maybe 2 or 3 goals or something like that.
Yeah,
but
I think after we beat the D's as well, you beat them by 60 points in the end a few weeks ago. So if you put us under that pressure that you played against Port as well in that first half, well, was it the first half you applied the pressure?
Yeah, it was sort of the first quarter wasn't good, and the rest of the game, I think we applied really good pressure. So,
I think if you put that pressure on our, especially our backmans like Benny Mackay, Zach Reid as well, we can. There's going to be problems, and I think I think North could actually run away with it. And,
us running away with anything, mate, is very, very rare. But hey, I would not say no to something like that. My last question before we sign off here. Actually, a trivia question. Then I've got one more.
All right.
Who was the North Melbourne top-up player who played for Essendon just after the drug stuff? Played in the back line.
Oh, God. Played in the back line.
Defender from North who came to you for as a top-up player.
Played in 2016?
Oh, I can't remember. Was it 13 or 14 when the drug stuff? No, it was before that. It was before. Oh, was it after? I don't even know.
No, it's 2013. 2013 was the actual year, yeah. Oh, that pulled me out. Oh. Trying to think, who was it? He's a well-known player, right?
Oh, I mean, in North circles, yes, but I doubt anyone outside of North circles would remember.
Backman.
Yep, defender, tall.
Did he wear a high number? High number? Or
I don't know what he wore for you guys. I'm assuming it's the same, but he wore 17 for us, I think.
Not Goldie, not James Stewart.
No.
Oh, you put me
Last name starts with G.
G. Oh, who is it?
Initials NG. You got it, mate, I believe.
Not Jamar, it's
First name starts with N, last name starts with G. You got it.
Oh, what is his name, man? Oh, what is it? It's sitting on the top of my head right now.
Nickname is Nani.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's on the top of my head. Oh, wait. Who is it? 2013. Oh, God.
I'll count you down on this because we need to wrap this up.
Wait. Oh.
All right. I'll give you 5 seconds.
2013.
Pressure's on.
Oh, no.
All right. Throw out one more answer and I'll tell you.
It's not Goddard. No, Goddard came from the Saints.
Nah, Nathan Grimer.
Was it Grimer?
Nathan Grimer, yeah. Nathan Grimer. Came across from North and played as a top-up player for the Bombers in whatever year it was. So.
I actually did not. I thought it was someone else, to be honest.
Oh, damn. Who's your favourite player to play between North and Essendon?
I'm going to chuck in Toddy Goldstein.
Yeah,
I actually have a photo with him. Wait, let me...
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I saw him last week. If you can see that.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, unreal.
So, yeah, had to get that. So I was like, you know what, might as well.
Yep.
One of my favourite players growing up as well. I'm not going to say Drew Petrie after 2014, I think it was, but...
Wow. Is there any other players who have played for North and Essendon? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I'm sure there's...
Ben Mackay.
I'm sure there's more, but... I don't... Mackay, yeah, but I'm trying to think a bit older, but... I don't know. If for those listening on YouTube and watching on YouTube, put down below any random or forgotten players who played between both clubs, because I bet there's some out there that I've completely forgotten about, and I need to know because Nathan Grimer was the only deep cut I can really think of that.
He was sitting on the top of my head. I just couldn't think of the name as well. So.
It is what it is, mate. Well, look, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for your time. Good luck on the weekend, but I do hope North get up. But
smack us, I reckon.
I don't know about that, mate. We don't smack much anymore, to be honest. So it's a little bit of a dark time at North right now, but maybe this game can be the one where we kick on, or you guys can kick on from it too.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. After a loss against Collingwood, I think we'll bounce back. And hopefully win by about 40 points. So, yeah.
We'll see, mate. Well, thank you for coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Cheers.
Thank you so much to Sammy for jumping on. Always appreciate the time and his Essendon insight. It was a really fun interview. What a guy. What a great time. So, anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into this team. Let's get into what I think should happen. And I want you guys to tell me your teams down below, what you would select, how you would change it. I'm trying to take out what Clarko would do a little bit with a sprinkling of that there, but I think these are realistic changes while making a few. Now, do I think Clarkson will make all these changes? No, I do not. But this is something I would do for this game, and I'm going to tell you why, especially with the Bombers players. So, in the back line, Archer, Core, Dawson, Daniel Comben, Hardiman. That is what I would be going. I'm bringing Core back in because the Bombers have 3 tolls. Caddy, Peter Wright and Langford are all going to be there. I think we need to cover all of those. And I guess you've got Jones on the wing as well, who can push forward and be a bit of a threat there, even though he's not the best player ever. But, North has a history of letting, okay players look like superstars. So I don't want the tall timber down there to be affecting us too much. I know in the podcast with Marnie, I said, why do we always bend to what the other team does? And I do agree with that still, but we are at the bottom of the ladder. I also counteracted that saying, I know why we don't do it. We're at the bottom of the ladder and every team's better than us. But for this game, I think we got to cover it a little bit more. So that's the change in the backline I'd be making. Hardiman stays in. Daniel is copping so much right now, and I understand people's frustration. I don't think he was that bad against Port. The couple of moments where he kicked it out of bounds on the full definitely stuck out, but you can't let those isolated moments take away from even the things he's trying to do. And I think he looked a lot better with Archer and Hardiman back there instead of Foss or someone, McKercher or Fisher or someone like that, also occupying the back line. Do you know what I mean? So I think we've got to stick with Daniel. Every other one of those players is a defender, and Daniel can try and run off that back line and create. I trust Hardiman by foot as well. Core also isn't a bad kick of the footy. So I think we've got enough defence down there with Daniel trying to lead the offence. Through the middle of the ground in the midfield, I've got Foss and McKercher on the wings. McKercher can be that player to maybe drop back a little bit if we are defending and take the ball off of Hardiman on the left-hand side and push it forward. The one thing I don't understand about Clarkson with McKercher is playing him off half forward, he's facing away from the way we attack, and that is just playing into every weakness he has. Half back or wing, that is as far forward as you should ever be playing this guy, because when the ball gets bounced, he's running into the middle, and then the ball's coming against him and he's not facing the right way. His speed and his foot skill is the thing we need. I think if we can really unleash him on the wing and just make him actually be a winger, don't give him spells on the wing, give him the wing and say, you run up and down between half back and half forward. You play make on that left-hand side of the ground. You are the playmaker. On the other side, give Foster another crack on the wing and give him some centre bounces along with McKercher. Let's get these guys through the middle. Speaking of the middle, LDU, Wardlaw, Parker. That is our best midfield right now. Parker unquestionably LDU on talent and what we know he can do, even though he's been down in the last couple of weeks, unquestionably. And Wardlaw, need I say more, obviously with Tristan Sherry in the ruck. So not much change in the midfield there, maybe just a different way we structure up and actually put, our ball winners to create a contest, and hopefully Parker and Wardlaw maybe sticking on the defensive side of the contest a little bit more, letting LDU or whoever's got the ball or whoever's near the ball, let them attack it. Because we said last time that, and this footage was pointed out through the week, I think it was Matthew Lloyd, that every North player in the centre bounce commits to where the ball is. The power players and whoever we play, to be honest, will wait and let their players run off them. And then when we lose the ball, there's players out. And that's why the transition is so bad. And that's why our defence is so bad in the midfield. So, I really hope we can sort of stem that with that midfield balance. You've got LDU who tackled well last week. Wardlaw and Parker are tough nuts. But Foss and McKercher can run straight in and they can create the run that we need once we win the ball. So surely it's not that hard. Clearly I'm a super coach. Absolutely not. I suck. Anyway, the forward line are Zerha, Teakle and Sheasel off that forward line. Sheasel, I know he's been playing off half-back a little bit more, and I'm not against switching him back there, but I think if Curtis is going to be out, especially, he needs to be down there, maybe just for his skill and his ability. But he's the player off the half-forward line I want to run straight into the middle, where the rest of them will stay up. Teakle is coming in because Jerry needs a chop out every now and then, but we also, with our awful forward 50 entry, which is just bombing it long, I would love to see how many marks to leads we have taken this year. If there's that stat out there, anyone, please feed me that, because it'd be in bloody single digits. Anyway, if we're going to be bombing it long, we need a target who can take a contested mark. And I understand Finbar is there. I don't quite maybe rate Finbar as highly as some fans do. I think he's a good raw talent, but I think he's a few years away from playing AFL football. I know he's been emergency a couple of times, but Teagle's form has definitely been better in the VFL and he warrants that opportunity. He's done it at AFL level as well. He can back up in the ruck better than Finbar will. He can take a really good contested mark, but he's a good shot at goal. So I would be rewarding his effort in the twos and bringing him back in. Constanti, Larky, Curtis along that forward line. Curtis TBA because I'm assuming he's going to get suspended. So in that case, I would put Dersma in the forward pocket or keep Dersma here. But spoiler alert, I would maybe be dropping Dersma if Curtis does play, which I don't think he will. So that's the interchangeable one there. Little spoiler alert for the droppings in a second. Constanti, I like his defensive pressure and he needs to hit the scoreboard a bit more, but I think he's a big part on why teams aren't running it out of our forward line quite as much. It's still not good enough, but, it's better than what it has been. And I can fully see a world where we don't have Constanti and then we're all complaining we don't lay any forward tackles. So I'm going to keep him in and back him in a little bit, but it's Constanti watch over the next 2-3 weeks. On the bench, I've got Darling, Simpkin, McDonald and Phillips, with Stevens being our sub. Darling, you could also argue maybe dropping Darling in the forward line, but I'd maybe like to see what the 3 tall thing sort of is. Darling, you could put on like Zach Reed. Sammy was saying that, Zach Reed one-on-one isn't the guy. And then you've got Larky, who I'm assuming Ben Mackay will play on, but I'd nearly back him to win that matchup. And then you've got like a Jordan Ridley or something down there. And if Teakle is going between the ruck and there, I think we can maybe take advantage of that. If we're going to bomb the ball in to the 50 every single time, we may as well put a lineup out there that can actually handle that, because I can tell you one thing for free. We are not going to start kicking to leads. I'm over it. It needs to happen, but it won't, because we've done it for so long and we don't even look like we try not to do that. So that's just what's going to happen. Simpkin, personally, if he wasn't captain, I would be strongly considering dropping him. Maybe not because I know he's apparently up there in the BNF and all that sort of stuff, but I just don't think he's contributing, but I also I think he's the same. There's too many of the same midfielders. And when I really want Foss and McKercher to get some midfield time, I'd love Zerha to get some midfield time. Simpkin is very similar to the other players we've got. McDonald doesn't really deserve to get dropped, so I'm going to put him on the bench. Phillips is the big in, mainly only because I want him to tag. Now, will he tag? Absolutely not. He's tagged 3 games in his entire AFL career. He's not coming in to be a tagger, even though I think he should. I just know what Clarko's going to do in the brain. But Phillips should probably come in to tag Merritt, because, Darcy Tucker can't do it, as we saw. And Dylan Stevens on the bench, I think it's hard, on the sub, sorry. I think he's played well as a sub. I think he's actually been pretty good. I know everyone hates him, but, if we take away the bias, I think he's actually been pretty solid. Probably, for balance, maybe has to go to the sub, but I think he's been a pretty effective sub. Now, that being said, these are the outs that I did. Now, Powell is the biggest out. Now, I know I'll cop heat on it, and it's not necessarily because I think Tom Powell's been atrocious, but I just don't think he's been contributing enough. He's only really had one good game this year against the D's, which we all did. Other than that, I just haven't maybe seen what he's bringing to that midfield, and just think it's time to change it up a little bit. If he comes back the next week, absolutely no problem with that. If he goes back to the VFL, gets 35 touches, kicks a couple, bring the man back in. But he needs to get into form. And I know McKercher, I've said the opposite with McKercher, but the only reason I would keep McKercher in and maybe drop a Powell is, yes, McKercher hasn't been good or fantastic either, but he offers something so unique and different that our team lacks. We can't really afford to get rid of it in case he comes on. But Powell, I don't see what Powell really offers outside of what LDU can do and Parker can do, and maybe especially Wardlaw being back now. For me, honestly, Simpkin and Powell, you could arguably drop either of those, but Simpkin's the captain, and I'm sort of putting my Clarko hat on a little bit and saying, no, he's not going to get dropped. So it's very harsh on Powell, and I know people think I hate Tom Powell. I do not, but I don't think he's maybe doing enough to stay in that midfield with the players we've got, especially with Wardlaw coming back. Phillips is probably the guy that maybe comes in to tag, and if we weren't tagging someone, Powell probably stays in. I'm thinking just structurally against the Bombers. Let me know if you agree with that or you think I'm the dumbest podcaster ever. Dersma going out, in brackets. If PC's not there, Dersma comes in to play that role. Play him deeper in the forward line, I think. I don't think he affects the game too much up and down the wing. In theory, I think it will work very well, but he kicks goals and he takes marks. And if Curtis isn't there, we need to try and replace that. I would love Eddie Ford, but I just don't get the feeling that Eddie Ford is even on the radar. And I don't know if his VFL form has been banging the door down. So, Ford off the top of the dome makes a lot of sense, but I think giving Dersman that role is a little bit more important. Dersman's more of the future, even though I think Eddie Ford is a star and I really want him to play. I'm shocked he hasn't even been in contention, but that's sort of just the way it is. And obviously Tucker out, that should have been a long time ago. But hey, if Tucker is still in when this team gets dropped, I'll blow my lid. Teakle, Phillips and Core, we've obviously already named all the ins. For Powell, Dersma, Tucker going out. I've explained my reasons on the outs. Just to run the team through one more time. Core, Archer, Dawson, Daniel, Comb and Hardiman. The 3 tolls there to handle Essendon's tolls. Archer and Hardiman brought really good defensive pressure when the ball hit the ground last week, and I think we need to stick with Daniel. His couple of out of bounds in the Fools, I think, don't represent his entire game. So with more defenders behind him, it lets him be that more attacker. Foss, McKercher on the wings. I've explained my reasons why, but I want those guys to get some centre bounces. LDU in the guts, Wardlaw, Parker around that stoppage. They're hard nuts and they're skillful. I want those guys there with obviously Tristan Sherry in the ruck. Zerha, Teakle, Sheasel, Constanti, Larky, Curtis in the forward line. Asterix on Curtis because Dersman might have to come in for him. Teakle being there. Backup Sherry in the ruck. If we're going to bomb it in long all the time, he can take the marks. And then Darling, Simpkin, McDonald, Phillips with Stevens on the bench. Darling, I don't know, like Teakle and Larky and Darling there. I don't know exactly how I feel about that, but, you could probably swap out even a Darling for a Powell or something like that to bring, that midfield rotation in. But I still think we've got too many mids that are the same. But, hey, it is what it is. Okay, let's tip and get you guys out of here. Let me know what you think of that team as well, if you're understanding the logic I'm going with, or if you think I am, like I said, the worst tipper of all time, not tipper, the coach of all time. Speaking of worst tipper of all time, here we go. We're only $2.83 in the sports betting odds. I did say in the pod I maybe expect Essendon to probably win, but I think we absolutely can. My heart's tipping North. My head's tipping the Bombers. I need to stand by what I said a couple of weeks ago on the pod after the Carlton game where I don't know if I'm going to blindly back North as much until they prove to me that they can do it. And the Essendon and the Richmond games coming up are the ones that can prove to me to back this team a little bit more. So, look, I will go. I think Essendon will probably win, but I think the game is absolutely there to be won by us if we can show up. The Saints and the Dockers. Give me the Saints at Marvel. The Dockers are a weird one. Maybe they're slowly getting back into form, but away, I feel like they just can't play away from Perth. Do you know what I mean? So give me the Saints, I reckon. Bulldogs and the Power. Give me the Doggies at it's at Mars. I was going to say Marvel. Mars Stadium in Ballarat. Yeah, absolutely. Give me the Doggies. They're in good form at the moment. I think the Dogs are going to be a really good team this year. And Port, who cares about that rubbish club? The Crows and the Blues. This is so interesting. I might back Carlton. The Crows have dropped off to me, and the Blues, after the Geelong win, oh man, I don't know. Give me the Blues in Adelaide. I backed Adelaide so much at the start of the year, and they've let me down in the tips. Collingwood, Geelong, give me the Pies. I think they're unbeatable at the moment, to be honest. They are so good. I think they're honestly one of the midfield has impressed me so much. How the connection that the midfield three have of Pendlebury, Dacos and Sidebottom is just unmatched. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest. So they're unreal right now, the Pies. Melbourne will be at West Coast over there. It's a little bit of a danger game, to be honest, but Melbourne have picked up their form a bit, so I'll back Melbourne. But West Coast aren't no chance. They'll definitely be going into that one thinking they can win. Wonder what Harley Reid's doing. I haven't heard about him for ages. Anyway, Swans, Giants. I mean, can they both lose? I don't know. I'll go the Giants, but the Giants have been so underwhelming. I thought they were premiership favourites at the start of the year for me. And yeah, I don't know. But the Swans have only won 2 games, which is also surprising. So, the Sydney football right now is a bit flat, but the Giants are still 6th. So I'll go the Giants. Hawks, Richmond. Hawks pretty comfortably there. And the Lions and the Suns. Give me the Suns. Give me the Suns. Yeah. I don't know. That's finally a Q clash is actually interesting. First one in 12 years. Give me the Suns. The Brisbane still haven't blown my mind this year. They've won a lot of games, but not maybe super convincingly. So if you give me an upset in the Suns, I reckon. All right, that will do it, guys. Thank you for tuning in once again. All the content is going to be out there. Thank you to everyone who's watching on YouTube. Please subscribe, comment, like. Give me your teams down below and what you think of the team I've put out. I don't know if this video is going to be out by the time Paul Curtis gets his suspension or not. So, just put an asterisk on this that I recorded this on Monday night and to go out on Tuesday. So if anything happens before the pod comes out, that is my level of knowledge on everything when I was recording this, because I have a job and need to do that. So Facebook, Instagram, that's the place to find everything. The TikTok is going really, really well so far this year. I'm trying to be more consistent. If you're Gen Z or below, please get on that. I'm a millennial on it, to be fair, and it's actually kind of cool. So get on that as well. Thank you for your support. And yeah, go North. Let's please beat the Bombers. That would be so much fun. See you there, guys. Bye.